Hey everybody. Okay, this isn't going to be a long one. I want to still have fun with this sketchbook. This was from Europe, I think in Cambridge or something. We were on a vacation. I'll have to check it out. I don't know. To me, London is London, England is England. I don't know. I don't get out of my studio very often to even know. But this is the one we started with yesterday. And this was pencil. It was pastel, pencil, lay-in, gouache, pastel. So and it really took the paper. So the question now is, how will it do with watercolor? So I have a bunch of different brushes here. These are expensive. This is probably close to $100. Um, this is same. These are travel brushes, Escada. They're pure sable. Um, did you just put that in your mouth, Sheldon? Yeah, it's an old habit. These here are these I got with all the Getty stuff. They're pretty funny. So they're kind of cool. Like, this one's kind of fun. This is sable. This is a sable brush. This is a great brush. I've had this for so long. It's just a really good brush. And I have also this one, which is the same brush. And again, it's sable, and you give it a shake. It really goes to a nice point. So maybe we'll use that. This one, these are just nothing. I mean, like Van Gogh and Royal Lane Decker, and then kind of fun. I use them though. I like them. I think they're pretty cool. All right, I'm going to start with this. So what we're going to do is, I really like this model. She's on Instagram, and she's just fun, and she's real pretty, and it's cool. She's a model, and we love our models in the art world. They do everything for us. I've never drawn her before. In person, but she certainly looks like she does the circuit. So I'm going to utilize all of these pictures, just kind of make up a person. Um, this was I borrowed from the Regency in Amsterdam. So when I go back to Amsterdam, I'll bring it back. But it was hanging on the door, and I thought, it'd be kind of cool to use it as a palette. Besides, I just come from the Rembrandt, and his palettes were small like this. So I thought, hey, it's an omen. So this is a big brush. So the whole idea, let's see, we have too much glare. And I'm going to turn off the light. I'll be right back. Don't go away. Okay, so now you can see me wearing old sweats. And here we go. This is good. So what we're going to do is we're going to put water down. You can shake the brush. If you get it really wet, that's a loaded brush. And then you give it a shake. It's a half loaded brush. So, and then if you shake it again, it's dry, but I can't do it in my studio anymore. I get in trouble. Used to. Let's see. Once you have a wet area like this, float in colors. Okay. Let's really get down to watercolor. Watercolor is my favorite. All right. Here we go. So once you get that, start floating in some other colors, warms and cools. So warm on that side, cool on this side. Careful with saturation. So the question is, how well does this paper take the watercolor? So far, it's pretty cool. Let's try just pure tone, really, really super light. So I'm on the rhythm chart. Riley doesn't have to be a cult, okay? Um, it's not invented. The rhythms are invented by nature. But Riley's good. I like Riley. Studied Fred Fixler for over 6 years. So there's some green. And I'm just putting it down super, super light. So it looks like a bruise. So let's see if we can pick the paint up. I'm just testing the paper, and so far, it's pretty cool. So what I'll do then is I'll use this sketchbook for like serious stuff. So I got two of them. I got the big one, and then I got this little tiny one for this landscape, which is really good. Okay, so I'm putting down a core shadow, and it's in a satin area. It's kind of satiny on the water, and it's working. So the secret for watercolor is once you have paint on the brush, put it everywhere you can. Okay, let's put some tone on this. So I'm going to put water down. So this is called a water mask. And then I'm going to flow the color in there. And there we go. So I'm always thinking shapes and edges. For color saturation, so see how blue that is? It's super, super blue. So that means it's really saturated. So we'll kill it with a complement. Bring it back. There we go. I could probably do oil paint with this brush. I mean, with this sketchbook. And I don't know how to get it. It's in an art supply store in England. And it's made from a local company. So warm on this side, cool on that side. I see how it's moving, so I can pull the paint wherever I want it to go. She's got blue-green eyes. So this area here is satin still. So it's holding onto the water and it's dry. I mean, we're in LA in the summertime. It's really dry out. So it's holding onto the water. When you do watercolor, you have to test the amount of water on the page, the amount of water in your brush, the amount of pigment in the brush, and then you want to think about the humidity level outside. If it's a really humid day, give yourself time because you're going to be waiting for this thing to dry. But if it's a non-humid day like today, the humidity out there, it'll dry really fast. So you to paint faster. But if it's a day that's not humid, if it's a humid day, you sit back and just chill and just relax. Put down a wash and walk away. Come back, it might still be wet. This was warm. See, I'm hitting the planes. You have to know your planes. It's real important. I'm not doing a portrait, painting a face. I do a lot of portraits, probably too many. And, they're a pain in the butt. I don't mind doing them because I get into the character and stuff, but they're generally a pain in the butt. Here's a core shadow, and a purpley core shadow. So you want to practice by just being able to paint a good face. And then when it's time to do a portrait, put it on model. It's just like animation. You look at the shapes, with the shape from here to here. You really judge it, and that's cleanup. Just really judging the distances. That's all. But if you can't draw a good character, you're not going to be able to draw. You're not going to be able to put a character on model if you can't draw a character. So we want to draw lots of just generic stuff. Not everything you do is a finished piece of artwork. I have stuff in my studio waiting to deliver. That's artwork. I got a painting that's going to go out, and when this person gets it, it'll be an heirloom. It'll be passed down to generation to generation. So, you know, I just finished doing an age progression. That'll be around for a long time. Age progressions, you really do need to know your anatomy and everything because you're aging a face. You say, okay, this person's going to go from 24 years old to 70 years old. What are the differences? What changes? You got to be able to draw it, and that's fun. The paint I'm using is it's Holbein, and it's crazy good stuff. It was given to me from a student named Alan, who is just a great guy. So he's interning with another friend. One thing about our school is we're kind of we don't commit to it, but we really want our students to have jobs. So Robin, who is the one who runs the school, she's the boss, and she's my wife. She'll stay till 2 in the morning researching jobs for our students. She's amazing. In universities, she'll spend hours into the night researching the right schools. Because you have to find a school that fits the person. It's not like it's just, oh, any school. It's got to fit. And we know our kids well at our school. We really know these kids. They're like their own kids. So Robin and I will go out on dates because we're married. And we will literally argue over what is the right school for somebody else's kid. They're not even our children. And we'll get into debates. She thinks it's this one. I'm like, I don't know. Or I'll say, I think this is a good way to go. And she's like, no. So then I, of course, take the kid's side 100% of the time until it gets to college. When we get to the part of actually choosing which college, then I switch over to mom and dad's side because these colleges are outrageously expensive. And, I don't want to see people going broke, going to a school where they can do just as well going to a less expensive school. So, so at that point, I tell the student, sorry, I'm taking mom and dad's side. I want to bring out this side of the face. I'm going to go negative, which means here. I'm going to lay this down. I had to tell a kid the other day. Her mom was just like freaking out. She goes, "How we can't afford that school?" So I sat down with that student who's, a kid I'm really close to, and said, "Sorry, you do just as fine somewhere else. What if I get a scholarship?" "Oh, then you get a scholarship." The schools, their job is to make money. So this is a watercolor, so I'm mostly doing it by floating the paint. It's pretty good. I mean, it's not like the Amalfi paper or anything. So I'll probably use this still more mixed media dry. And this is buckling up. See? So that's your test. So not a watercolor paper. But man, can it take the drier medium and the gouache really took a while. I really like this Rembrandt little easel thing I have. Little palette. I mean, of course, it's right there. This is the palette that Rembrandt used, of course. And what they did is they had so many of them, they just hung them on the door and telling them, so you can know that you got to make up the room. How's that for a bullshit lie? All right, here we go. I'm going to switch to a cheap brush. This is kind of cool. This is this Royal Nickel and it's black. Like it's really black, but it's pretty cool. Um, really holds a point. The sable brushes can test you. So the whole idea is you put the water down and then you just touch the paint and let it kind of roll and do its thing. I call it a water mask. Walk on down in the center. Make sure that mouth is in the right spot. Here's a almost true story that never happened. This young girl, she had a portrait done, and when they did the portrait of her, um, the artist drew the mouth over, painted the mouth over to the side. It wasn't centered. So after it was all done, the poor thing, they had to cut the mandibles, and they had to cut the maxilla, and they had to move over the uh, the mouth. They had to move it over, and then they had to wire it shut. Wire it shut for a really long time. So during that time, she had to eat through a straw. She had to eat not real food. So by the time the they took off the wire, poor thing had this eating disorder. So of course she had to go to therapy and find professionals that can deal with it, and that took a long time to finally be able to eat real food and be able to handle it. So that finally was done, and then she was done with therapy for the traumatic experience of having to go through that. It was all done. You know what she did? She went to go find that artist who drew her wrong. All of that trauma she went through was for the first few moments when she was first drawn. If they just would have taken their time and drawn off the center line and done their measurements, she wouldn't have had to go through all this. She went and found that artist. I don't even want to tell you what happened. This was brutal. It was horrible. So, but you probably see it on Netflix or HBO or something. Okay, so we want to make sure. So I go in there and really move the mouth, move the mouth over a little bit. So this is wet, so it's moving down. When I did the drawing, I had the eye over too far, so the tear duct lines up with the nostril. So I erased it and fixed it. I lay the brush down, just kind of let it absorb into the paper. I think of it like when you go to the dentist before they give you the shot, they put a little Novocaine, or my dentist would do it, on a Q-tip, and they put it in. They just let it sit there until it numbs it. And I kind of think that with the brush. Like here, I'll take this, I'll just lay it down until it settles in, and I'll pick it up. The watercolor method I use is a combination of everything, and it's kind of my method. This is an area where it is my method. What happened is I wanted to save watercolor kind of for the last, like later on, because I knew it would take a long time. So I didn't really start until I was 37, really getting into it. And there was an art supply store I would go to, and I knew everybody in there. So I was buying cheap stuff, and then finally the one of the employees, I knew the owner, I knew everybody. It was Flax, and I knew Harvey really well, Harvey Flax. And what happened is they said, Sheldon, stuff's looking pretty good. It's time to get some real supplies. I said, okay. So they took care of me. I got it for like really cheap. They took care of me really well. So I have really good supplies. So let's do some art supply stories. Okay, these are shoot stories. Um, there was this case, a wooden box, and it was the Millennial series, and it came out with watercolor, oil, and all limited edition, just beautiful. It's like $4,000. Everybody had them. Every art supply store got one or two of them from Winsor Newton, and at Flax, they all put it behind glass, because it was so expensive. Except Flax, they had it out in the open, so of course things disappeared. Not by me, of course, but it was disappearing. So they can't sell it as a complete unit. So what I did is I saved up and let's say like $5, $10 a week. And then when I got enough money, I would go in there and buy one piece of it. But I would buy it at a severely discounted rate. I would say, hey, I have $50. I'm going to buy this, and it would be like a $300 part. Or I have $100. So finally, it got to the point where they just had the box. So I saved up and I had $125. So I called over and I said, I want that box. And they said, no. Harvey says no. He's going to sell it. I go, how much? He said $900. Hey, $900 for a box? Give me a break. Who's going to pay $900 for the box? It was beautiful. I have it right behind me on my shelf. Huge wooden box, all handmade, brass, gorgeous. It's just absolutely beautiful. I go, I'm going to spend that. I said, okay, here's the story. What's going on today? They said, insurance is coming out. I go, yeah, the insurance is going to come out and they're going to pay you the full amount of money for the entire, $4,000. They said, okay. I go, what are you going to do? Take the box and put it in a box museum? I said. I was really giving him a hard time. Finally, he said, I said, just figure it out. So finally he said, all right, I'll have to figure it out. I'll hide it somewhere in another sale. Come on down. So I ran down there. So I went from where I live, which is in like Ventura County area, all the way to Westwood, which, on a good day without traffic can take about a half hour. In LA with traffic can take about 4 days. And I got there. He had the whole thing wrapped up for me with bubble wrap. And I gave him the $125. I said, I have $125 in my pocket and it could be yours. So I gave him my saved up money, my $125. When I got home and I unwrapped it, there were brushes in there. And there was a little watercolor kit, a little tiny one, but it was pure Winsor Newton. And it was like about $175 just for that. So they took good care of me. And there's really some great stuff in there. So I have it and I use it. It's my little thing. So then I wanted an easel, and that's right here, this easel. It's right next to me. Okay. So I saw they had an easel in there, and it was like a $2,000 easel, and they had it on sale for like, they had it on sale for like $1,200. So I said, I'm going to buy this easel for $200. I have $200. No way. It's a $2,000 plus easel. It's on sale for $1,200. You're not doing it, Sheldon. No. I said, okay. And I had the Lexus, the new Lexus, the little IS, when it first came out, tiny little car. I said, okay, if I can fit this easel in my car, I'm taking it. They said, you're not going to fit it. It's not going to work. So I did it. There was easel everywhere. I had it like poking out the window. And I gave him the $200 and I left. It was so funny. I did it. So don't take no for an answer. So I have the box. I have the easel. I have, still have paper that they get. Beautiful Winter Newton artist level paper, just gorgeous. And they gave me. I bought it. About like 100 sheets of it. So I still have that. Yeah, I have enough. I have some left. Um, when they closed, my salesman, who I love, he came to the school and he said there was a set of brushes and they needed a home. They needed to have the proper home. And he had a box in his hand, and I knew exactly what it was. And I said, I know a home for it. And I grabbed the box and I went and put it in my trunk right away. It was a $700 set of brushes. It was the Winsor Newton Millennial. They're silver plated ferrules. This is your ferrule. But the funny part was I had already had one. So, because I had purchased it from that set that was broken up. So I have two. They're gorgeous. So I use them occasionally. But I'm having fun using these cheap ones. No, they're good. This one was given to me by the owner of Condell Art Supplies when they were around. Steve, who was an old friend. I kind of grew up with him. With family. So I would ride my bike. I started going there when I was in grammar school. So I knew the owner's parents. Yeah, I knew the parents really well. And they're a German family, real thick accent. They treated me like their own kid. And I would go there and just walk around and just dream that I would own even some of those art supplies. And then when I started teaching, of course, my students all went there. And, Filmation, that's where they bought their art supplies. So it was like a family in the valley. You had the studio. And so one day, one of the brothers, it wasn't Steve, but one of the brothers, I went on a cruise, one of my first cruises. I was 21. I was totally burnt out from the studio. We had a strike. It was the big strike. And the producer said, you should go on a vacation, go on a cruise. All right. So I went on this cruise. The brother went to Catalina to go scuba diving. I came home. He didn't. He drowned. It was really, really sad. And it affected the whole valley. I mean, everybody was just freaked out. It's like we have a family. And so I think that's when Steve took over. And then I grew up with Steve. So I've known him for a really long time. I knew him when I was a kid. So we go in there and hang out. So when they closed Continental Air Supplies, it was a big deal. You had the supply stores were by the studio. So, like World Art Supplies was across street from Hanna-Barbera. So you go there. Graph Aids, boy, I spent a lot of time with those guys, and they they had a contract with like the big studios. They still do. They're great buying power. They're a great place. Graph Aids is great. So I've gave them a lot of business over the years because I had was setting up departments, schools. So, and the only rule was that they took care of my kids, and they did. Okay, this is kind of fun. Feels good. Let's see how it takes a half tone. So somebody, like I said, I saw online, somebody said, did Sean really do all this stuff? Yeah, that's all I've ever done. How about you guys? I wasn't going to be an artist. I wasn't going to be anything. So worked really hard. Hasn't changed. Just floating the colors. Let's take and put a kind of a cool going down the side of the face. So I'm going to take just a real subtle boom, just like that, real subtle. Not too much because she'll get older quick. So when you're doing watercolor, it's wet, satin, dry. Wet, local value, local color. It move really fast. Satin, core shadows. It's going to move slower. And then dry will be your cast shadows, accents. And that's how I do it. Corey's been showing me other people's stuff. You got to be more like this, he says. Yeah, that was kind of something that really screwed up the universities because I was there, it's kind of like a stage show. There was a reason for it. And it was I don't know, it was like going to a concert, you're gonna go there and you see Dave Matthews Band, it's gonna sound like Dave Matthews Band. So when you start swapping it out, changing it, it was no longer my class. And that's what kind of ruined everything. And finally I said, why am I here? So I headed it out. So just remember that what we're trying to do is get you the information so that you can do something with this stuff. And the style is, which I'm not doing right now, is say something gross, stupid, or obscene, like really out there, so you can remember it. And then once I say the stuff, do the narrative, then I hit you with the hard stuff. And then I go into an unrelated story that you don't care about. So you digest information and then go right back into it again. It's been working for years. Oh, yeah, it really picks up the paint. That's cool. Yeah, you're right. It's pretty good. Um, the information, again, it's not mine. I get real frustrated when I go online and it's like, this is the such and such approach. No, it hasn't changed in hundreds of years. So we want to give you vetted information so you can become vested. And I would love it if you would be able to succeed. So this is a combination of Riley. We'll call Vilpu everything else. Just talked to Glenn yesterday, just the other day. I gotta get out and see him. Called to say hello. Got that. Old Art Center. Lots of that. Chenard's. Art Students League, which would be, very Bridgman-y. It all comes together into one package that we teach at our school every day, and we teach it to kids, and they do really well. By the time the kids are 13, 14, they're beyond college. So it feels good. And you're welcome to come. Tonight there'll be somebody zooming in from across the country. He works really hard. Okay. It's not bad. It's kind of fun. So let's see. This would be pure watercolor. And then this would be, again, wash, pastel, everything else, mixed media. Okay. See you on the next demo. Probably touch it up a little bit. Okay. Bye, you guys.